on the lookout for the perfect summer top that's going to be the only pattern that you need to buy this spring and summer? Well, look no further than the Moriko top from Notches Patterns. And the good news is it's the one that we're doing on our capsule wardrobe sew along, and it's in 3 parts. So let's get cracking and find out all about the pattern. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about getting the right sizing for you, cutting your pattern out, making the dreaded toile, and getting that fit as good as we possibly can. And then in week 2, we can hit the ground running and start sewing. So grab yourself a cuppa and get yourself a notepad and pen and start writing down your shopping list for the Moriko top. I'm Christine the Gemini Stitcher and welcome to my sewing space. Today's vlog is going to be all about the Moriko top, which is the second pattern in our 5 garment capsule collection. We've already done 3 vlogs on the Seasons of East Summer in New York dress. I will pop the links to all of those below in case you've missed them. So this is the second garment in our capsule collection. You all voted for the Moriko top, so fingers crossed you're going to love it. I've never made this top either, so we're going on this journey together. Let's talk about the tools and equipment that you're going to need to make the top and make your life easy when you're making it. So the first thing that you need, obviously, is a pair of decent sewing and cutting scissors. I use the Prim Micro Serration scissors. There are lots of options out there, but make sure you've got your own personal cutting scissors and don't let anybody use them for anything else because it will blunt them. You're going to need pins, but mainly you're going to need clips. When I'm sewing with jersey and stretch fabrics, I tend to use these little clips more than I use pins. They're just easier, and particularly if you're using a serger or overlocker, it helps so you don't get pins jammed in your machine, which is not a good idea at all. You're going to need your trusty tape measure. Now, an interesting fact about a tape measure is that you're meant to replace them on a regular basis because they actually stretch out and end up giving you the wrong measurements. So I would say change your tape measure depending on how much you sew. I change mine about every 6 months or so. So a good quality tape measure. A marking pen. I use the water-soluble versions of the fabric pens. You can get heat erasable ones. You can use Chaco markers. You're going to need needles for your sewing machine. Now, it's very important that when you're sewing, you put the right needle in for the fabric that you're sewing. Don't just assume that a standard 80 needle will sew everything. It will, but it won't sew it well. So with jersey and knit fabrics, there are 2 options. So you have a jersey needle and there's also a stretch needle. And they're both slightly different. Now, they recommend using jersey for your cotton jerseys, your pontes, all that sort of thing, and the stretch needles for more stretchy fabrics. So if you're sewing active wear, that sort of thing, or a fabric that's got a lot of stretch in it, don't use a jersey, use a stretch needle. They are slightly different. I'll pop a little image up here. So the stretch needle has a smaller eye than the jersey needle, and it's set higher up from the end of the needle. And there's no right or wrong really with which one you use, and what I would recommend is put a jersey needle in first, see how on a scrap of fabric, see how it stitches, then swap it for the stretch needle, stitch in that, compare the two, and then decide which one is going to work best for the fabric that you're using. I'm going to be using Stretch Fix. I get this on a roll. This was from Empress Mills. You can also get it in little packets, but it works out quite expensive. And it's an iron-on double-sided stretchy glue that I use to help when I'm doing hems and facings. If you've ever sewn a twin needle and you get like a little tunnel effect on your hem where it all bunches up, then this Stretch Fix is going to stop that from happening. I will be using my trusty tailor's ham, and I'll be using this when I'm pressing round the sleeve heads to get them bob on. I'll probably be using Best Press at some point because I always do. Thread. Now there are a few options with the thread that you use. You can use standard thread in your machine and use the lightning bolt stitch. I'll put an image up there to sew your seams with, which creates natural stretch in the fabric. If you've not got a lightning bolt stitch, you can use a zigzag stitch. And the other alternative is to use this. I don't know if you can see, this is slightly stretching this cotton, this thread, and it's called Maraflex thread. Now it isn't cheap, but you use a lot less thread because you can just stitch on a standard stitch with your machine. I will probably do a lot of my seams on my overlocker, which is the perfect machine for jersey fabrics, but we'll see as we go along because some of it might need to be done on the standard sewing machine. And the last thing that you need to use is some clear elastic. Now you can use normal elastic if you want, but you'll need to stretch it out as you go just so that it creates, it's going to be around the necklines, particularly if you're doing the crossover neck, to keep it nice and neat against your chest area. And decide what fabric you're going to use. I've got a selection here that I'm going to mix and match because you can do colour blocking with these tops. And I'm going to be doing one of each version just so that you can see how easy they are to sew and how they look mixing and matching your colours. So I've got a green leopard print. Now this is a modal jersey, and I also have that in a pink colour. This gorgeous fabric is a cotton jersey, which is what I would recommend if you're a beginner sewer. It's one of the easiest jerseys to sew with, and this is an Arida Hansen pattern. Another cotton jersey, you can tell I like flowers, can't you? In this pinks, orange and purples might get used. And then I've got a couple of plains because with this colour blocking, pattern and pattern, I just cannot live with. So if I'm colour blocking, I'll have a pattern and a plain. So that pink and that floral one with the pinks in go well together. And then this one with the oranges and blues and rusts in goes quite well with that plain flecked cream fabric, and they are both cotton jerseys as well. So let's talk about our dreaded body measurements, because we need to take these and we need to take them properly. I have already gone through how you take your measurements in the Seasons of Ease dress properly, so go back and check on that one. And we need for this top our bust, our waist and our hips. So your hips is the biggest part of your derriere area. Your waist is your natural waist. Do a teapot, and where that bend is, that's where your waist is, and your bust is over the highest part, the widest part of your bust, the centre. Make sure you're wearing the bra that you will be wearing when you wear the garment, and take your measurements carefully, or better still, get a friend to help you. Write down your bust, waist and hip measurements, and then take a look at the chart. My body measurements will appear here, and this is the chart. So I think I'm going to do a size medium, just to be on the safe side. Some of me falls into the small, some of me falls into the medium, and a little bit into the medium plus. So I'm going to stay in the middle with the medium and see how we get on. We're doing a toile, and we're only going to do the front and the back bodice of the basic top, just to get a fit and feel for it. If you want to carry on and finish that garment, that's absolutely fine. But I'm just going to cut out the front and back of the basic top for the toile. Okay, so I've cut out piece A on the fold and piece B on the fold, and these are the bog standard t-shirt patterns, front and back, and we're going to use these to make our toile with. Now I know it doesn't sit well with me either to cut into precious fabric to make a toile, so I suggest I've used some plain pink cotton jersey that has in my stash already. But if you're a new sewer and you've no stash, then go to somewhere that sells cheaper fabrics. Maybe you're lucky enough to have an Abercarns near you. They have a jersey section that they sell by the kilo, so just get some of those. Or online, Pound Fabrics sell their plain cotton jerseys, I believe, for about £7-ish a metre, which isn't too bad for making toiles with. You can utilise your toile fabric if you get your toile pieces, if you get the fit reasonable, but the chances of me doing that are quite minimal. I've cut out, so for demonstration purposes, I've cut the fronts and the backs, their normal full length, just so that you can see when I've sewn these together why you need to make a toile, and why, if you're a midget like me, you need to shorten things in the right place before you even start cutting your pattern out. So I'm going to go over to the sewing machine, and I'm going to just simply sew just with a straight stitch. I know we said it's all done on stretch stitch, but this is a toile. We're only going to put it on once. And the reason you use a stretch stitch or a zigzag stitch is to stop your seams from snapping and breaking when you keep putting them on and off. I'm going to put this on once to do the toile and make all the adjustments. So I'm just going to do it on a straight 4 or 5 stitch length tacking stitch, because it's for trying on purposes only. So we're going to sew the side seams and we're going to sew the shoulder seams of the front and the back together. And then I'll come back with it on and we can talk about what adjustments I need to make to this t-shirt pattern. Now I've got my toile on and I've got it inside out, just so that we can make any adjustments on it while we're here. Now, as you can see, this is quite a clingy top, so if you don't want yours to be that clingy, I would go up a size just to give you a little bit more room. But I'm happy with that. Apart from that, we've got a few drag marks here, but we've not sewn any of the seams, so it pulls it in and sorts that out, I think, when you sew it together. It's just the length. Let me stand back and show you. So it's right down near my hips, and it's meant to be just past the waist. So there's a good few inches. I'm going to do a bit of a guesstimate and measure how much I need to reduce this by. So it needs to be about there. So that's 5 inches. So I'll probably take 4 inches off the length, and then I've got a little bit of wiggle room. Now, this pattern is shaped and there's no shortening lines on it. So this is the front pattern piece, and you can see it comes in there. Where this notch is here is meant to be your waist. So I'm going to take it up from where that notch is and make sure that where it starts curving back out again is at my waist, and then see how much I've taken out, and if I'm still needing to take some off, then I will just take it off the bottom. So that's the only real alteration that I need to make on this pattern. I'm happy with the size that I've done. As I said, if you've got really stretchy fabric, go up a size. If you're not comfortable with the close fit of it, again, go up a size. But that's the style of the top. It is meant to be a close fitted top. So the only thing that I really need to do, I was wittering on about the shoulders, but actually once they're sewn, I don't think I need to alter them. So it is just in the length of the bodice. So I hope that's helped. There may be other problems that you have. If you're getting a lot of dragging lines along here, you will get a few because we've not sewn those seams, but if you're feeling like there's really not enough room here, then you can go up a size. You can look at doing a large bust adjustment, but then you're going to end up putting darts in at the side, and it's not that style. So I would tend to go on the option of increasing the size, and then if the shoulders are too wide, then doing a narrow shoulder adjustment and doing it that way. So I hope that's helped. We're now going to go and alter this pattern piece by 4.5 inches. And we'll get to the cutting table and we're going to cut out the pieces for our crossover t-shirt. So I've altered all of the pieces, shortening them all by 4 inches. And I'll just show you how I've done that, just in case you need to lengthen or shorten your pieces. So I've folded them over by 2 inches and then back on itself, which is 4 inches. So I've done that for the basic back bodice and replicated it with the front one. Now, when you come to the diagonal neckline pieces, they can be a bit of a head scratcher, but it's not as difficult to alter them as you might think. They've got that they'll have that landmark notch for the waistband on them that we're using as our begin for our fold. So find that, measure down half of the length that you need to shorten, fold that over, and that doubles it. And then where your sleeve arm side is, just face that up against the front or the back just to check that that side is more or less matching, because this side has got all the gathers in, so it's not going to match. So do that for piece C and piece D, and then you've got them all shortened. The last thing that I did, I kept the sleeve as a long sleeve because it's a long or short sleeve, so you can just fold it over to the short sleeve length because that's what I want to do. But then when I put this to my arm, I can see it's still too long, so I've folded that over. I've shortened the sleeve by 2 inches so that the sleeve will be above my elbow, which is where I want it to be. So now we've got all our pieces adjusted, let's go to the cutting table and get our first Moriko top cut out and ready to go. So I'm using a French terry, which has got a good amount of stretch to it. And I'm going to use this one to make the top that has the crossover front and the crossover back. Now, this is just for demonstration purposes on how to line your pattern pieces up properly. I will record the cutting out for each different top that we do. But this is the one with the 2 crossovers. Now, I've got the fabric as a single layer because we only need 1 piece of piece D and then we need 3 pieces of pattern piece C. So we've got piece D and we just need 1 of them. Now, what we need to make sure that we do is, first of all, check that our fabric hasn't got a one-way design, which I guess this probably does because the flowers will all go one way if you want to be ultra critical. So that's the top, that's the bottom. All my pattern pieces have got to be pinned on the same way. So we're going to set the grain line on this piece before we cut it out. So to get the grain line straight on this pattern piece, there's an arrow which is the grain line on every pattern piece, and we're going to grab a pin, just eyeball where you think it's straight and pin the top of that line. Then get your trusty tape measure and measure from that line to the edge of your fabric. Now, to the edge of the print is 12 inches. So let's measure the bottom of the grain line, which is a smidge out. It's slightly less than 12 inches, so I need to move it that way. So that's 12 inches, so we'll pin the bottom of the grain line, and that means I can carry on now, pin the rest of this pattern piece and cut it out, and that's the first one done. We're going to carry on doing that with the other pieces that are relevant to the top that we're sewing, and as I said, I will bob back at the beginning of each pattern sew along because we're going to do every option in this video, and I will run through the pattern pieces that you need for that particular one and run through cutting them out, whether they're single or double layer, and how to get the most out of your fabric. So that's it for today's session. I know with the Season of Ease dress we got it all cut out first, but because you use different pattern pieces depending on what style you're doing, I'm going to add the actual cutting out vlog to the sewing vlog for each of the different t-shirts or dresses that you want to make. So that's it for today. I hope you found it informative. I hope you're enjoying my capsule wardrobe sew along, and I will see you all next week when we're going to start cutting out and sewing, and we're going to do one for every version that you could possibly want to make. So see you then. Happy sewing. Love you loads. Bye.